Good morning, everybody. It's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, and welcome back to my channel. And you see this kitty cat doesn't look all that happy. There's snow in the background, bare trees. That's exactly what's happening here in Jackson County, Kentucky. There was a lot of snow overnight. I'm going to say probably 3 inches, maybe. All I know is before I went to bed, I shoveled the porch here 2 times, and then I woke up to a hot mess. Birds didn't like it, cats didn't like it, but Foxy came this morning, and I do have a video to post, but of course it's very blurry because the criminals intercepted it, but I will be posting it later. So you can see Foxy out in the snow, not happy either. But I've got some really interesting news here. And of course this is in Kentucky. Corrupt judge raped kids, drugged kids, sold kids to others, and blackmailed kids with jail threats. And this judge is 71 years old. And let me tell you, I'm looking at him. You know, I'm 67 years old. And I wouldn't mind dating, an older guy, a younger guy, whatever. But let me tell you, this guy, there ain't nobody that wants to date this ugly, fugly guy. And he's disgusting. No wonder he had to pay children. I mean, this is a disgusting creature. And I only have one question. Because he's gotten away with it for all these years. Could you imagine how many people that he has corruptly incarcerated, has drugged, has trafficked, has blackmailed? Imagine how many lives this judge has ruined in all of these years, and nobody said anything about it. All these years, this corruption. So I'm going to show you the guy, and there's a glare. So let me maybe I'll just turn this off. Maybe there'll be less glare here. And this is a YouTube creator. I'm not familiar with this creator. Thabo and Ray. First time I'm seeing the channel, but obviously the title caught my attention. And then when I listened and realized it was in Kentucky, wow. I mean, stuff like this doesn't happen here. Like, what about that judge in Letcher County? The sheriff that shot the judge. And you think that sheriff is innocent? Please.
Former North Kentucky judge is sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Only 20 years.
Tim Nolan was sentenced on human trafficking and other sex crime charges. According to a special prosecutor, Nolan targeted young women, drugged them, and threatened to call police if they didn't perform sex acts. Court records show there were 19 victims, 7 of which were under 16 years old.
Okay, now, 19, I'm just going to say, because of the Freemasons, and I guarantee he is one. I guarantee he's one. In fact, if I had one question to ask this judge, I would ask him if he is a Freemason. So, 7 children under the age of blank. 19, which is an eclipse cycle. Okay, and they use these numbers, and the judge is 71 years old. 7 plus 1 is an 8. I don't know what his birthday is. I don't know when he became a judge. I don't know any of that stuff. But this is Judge Timothy Nolan.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is the
Ray,
guy.
And before we begin our program today, I'd like to ask you to ask yourself a question. Why is this the first time you're hearing of this story? Don't you think that this would be a story that would have been on your radar, something that you would have heard before? Don't you think it's odd? How about the rest of the other stories that are on my channel about judges that are, beyond fiction? They seem like they're conspiracy theories, but they're actually true stories. Why is it? Why is this the first time you're hearing about a judge who ran a pedophile ring and was sentenced to prison? You can only help but wonder, is this the system that we live in, protecting power?
I'm going to answer your question, young man, because I've lived a lot longer than you. I guarantee the judge is a Mason. I guarantee he's been protected all these years. He thought he was going to get away with it. All these judges are protected until, and this is what happens. And I'll demonstrate that in the next article that I'm going to show you, is that even within the courthouse, even within law enforcement, even though they're all mostly corrupt, every once in a while, those corrupt ones don't like one of their own. They will target their own. Like they did in Manalapan, New Jersey, when former police officer Edward Hedden, Hedden, was part of the hockey club with the former chief of police Michael Fountain. Piece of crap that he is, and he's a piece of crap. And I will tell you to your face, Michael Fountain, that you're retired and you're probably a gang-stalking piece of crap that you are. He targeted his own police officer. You want to know why? Because during this little hockey club, whatever, the former chief of police, he would drink a little bit too much, and he had a girlfriend who worked at the local bar, and he would tell his police officers, if you score, and mind you, please, you can correct me, I don't know what it is, a goal, when you hit the puck, is it a goal? Anyway, if you hit a goal, you can squeeze my girlfriend's tits. And if you score another thingy-dingy, you can grab her butt. Oh, it goes on and on and on and on. So, Police Officer Hedden, who's no angel, by the way. In fact, I believe that he was once on the Brady list. Don't quote me on that. I remember seeing his name and a couple of others on some list online that's no longer there. So anyway, he's no angel. I'm sure he was part of the group that were stalking me in Manalapan, and I guarantee he knows everything about my story. However, he did become targeted by his own police chief. His own police chief made up stories about him, labeled him enemy of the state, had the other police officers stalk him at his home, take away his weapon, his firearm, even his personal firearm, which, why would you do that? Ordered him for a mental health evaluation, otherwise he could not return to work. And of course, when he returned to work, they gave him horrible shift work and stuff, and they treated him, like a piece of garbage or whatever, only because, want to know what his crime was? Because during one of these hockey club thingies, when the chief of police said all of those things, he said it in front of Edward Hedden's wife, who was there. And it was almost like he insulted his wife. And, a very upstanding male creature wanted to defend his wife, and he did not like what this chief of police was saying in front of his wife. So, at some point in the not-too-distant future, he went to internal affairs, which is a joke. Total joke. So he goes to internal affairs, which is basically you're going to your own police department to report a crime against your leader. Okay. Not smart. Not smart thing to do. But he did it anonymously. And then he decided, I'm just going to own it. I'm going to say I'm the one that reported the criminal activity on the offending activity by the former chief of police, Michael Fountain. And that's when his targeting began. He actually was reported for stealing funds, which he did not do. He was labeled an enemy of the state. The chief of police told lies to the prosecutor's office about him that were not true. He did everything inhumanly possible to retaliate against this officer for declaring his rights to file a complaint against his creepo boss. But I'm just going to fast forward because I have a copy of the lawsuit. And of course, you know, it was decided, it was after it went kind of viral, after Romola D interviewed me about it, and we posted the lawsuit online, literally within 24 hours, they came to a settlement. And I know this because I contacted the former police officer on Facebook. I found him. It took a little while for me to find him because a lot of these officers don't have their own Facebook page. You'll have to find them through their family members, which I did do, in fact. Find him through his mommy. So, yes, literally he was not able to speak with me further because they were in a settlement, literally within 24 hours of Romola D going live with that lawsuit. Whether or not it impacted the opportunity for it to settle so quickly, who knows? But it's just such a coincidence, such a coincidence. But anyway, this is what happens. So all the other police officers were then targeting him because they didn't want to get targeted. But in the lawsuit, guess what was disclosed? It was disclosed that chief of police, Michael Fountain, the former chief of police, they never retire, these guys. I'm sure he's doing some gang stalking somewhere else. He's probably stalking my channel, leaving vile comments, right? So, what he did, what was disclosed was that he would keep files with dirt on all of police officers so that he could blackmail them in the future. Now, if he could do that, compile dirt, quote unquote, on police officers that work for him, they work for Manalapan. They're some of the highest paid police officers, They got money coming in at the kazoo in Manalapan, New Jersey. If he could do that to his own police officers, what do you think he was doing to all the divorced single women in the neighborhood? Like my neighbor down the block with 2 girls who was microwaved to death, who had to move. And what about me, who filed multiple complaints that he ignored, while his own police officers were harassing and stalking me? So you never know. So this corrupt judge raped children. He drugged them. He sold them to others. He blackmailed kiddos with jail treats. Now, for anybody that's been in jail, could you please tell me what a jail treat? Oh, I'm sorry. It's a jail threat. Never mind. I thought it said treat. A treat. What could possibly be a treat in jail? A jail threat. So let's move on with this a little bit more. I want you to see this piece of crap.
Powerful people, I would ask you, part of my journey, I want to expose these people. I want as many people as possible to hear about these stories. Oh, look,
he's got a little monkey.
Bad things
look,
happen
he's got a little
only
monkey.
when good men turn a blind
I'm
eye.
just
So
seeing that now. Look at that.
Subscribe to the channel, share, leave a comment.
Okay, this is the guy's channel. Well, look, he's got a little monkey.
Again, as I said, it's very odd. This is the first time you're hearing of this from some YouTube random person on the internet with a monkey talking about it. It makes you wonder, could we live in a society where the powerful elite travel to an island and, there's billionaires and nobody knows where they get their money from and they're friends with...
Yes! Imagine how many people could actually afford to get to an island, to just kind of investigate it, walk around. Why do all these rich people have islands? So I'm not going to do any more. I will post a link to this article in the description section. And anybody, please, instead of asking me the questions about where did you get this information from, please read the description section first. I'm fairly methodical about leaving references and related things in the description section. All you have to do is scroll down. Now, this is from a subscriber who also lives in Texas. Now, what happened was, again, this is a fellow police officer, but this is a female police officer. They actually set up this female police officer. They accused her of wiretapping. But she wasn't wiretapping. There were surveillance cameras everywhere in the area. And basically, she was requesting the footage of the local cameras for the crime that she was investigating. But they set her up and accused her. They accused her of wiretapping. Her name is, okay, this is in Lometa, Texas. Melissa Cantu, C-A-N-T-U. Lometa's former chief of police has been found not guilty of 2 felony wiretapping charges over the past year. Cantu's defense team argued that the case was politically motivated. They set her up. They set her up. This is a municipal court judge, mayor, city secretary, a Texas Ranger who destroyed evidence. They all conspired to go after the chief of police for doing her job. Does this sound familiar? The situation began when City Secretary Elizabeth Lambert accused Municipal Court Judge Sharon Watson and her clerk Stephanie Sweet of bullying and creating a hostile work environment. Lambert reached out to Cantu for help. Cantu assessed surveillance footage with permission from the mayor to investigate the allegations. However, the trial revealed that when the footage became damaging to Watson and Sweet, they responded by accused Cantu, the chief of police, of wiretapping. So I'm not going to go into all the details here. I'll leave a link and whatever. So she was found not guilty. She was being set up for doing her job. And this is not an uncommon thing. So now let's go on to, I want to go on to some yucky here in Kentucky, and I will talk to you guys soon.